Item number 4, formation of the proposed City of Antioch Community Facilities District number 216-01, police protection.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. Lynn Filson, our Assistant City Engineer, along with our City Attorney, will be making this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the fourth time we've come to you to get all of the process through the City Council for creating the CFD. So a little background, the CFD is going to be a tax on all new residential development in the City of Antioch. It will charge them $445 with an inflationary factor, and that money will go to police services. So right now we have a level of police services, and their general sales tax and property taxes that these new residents will pay will keep us at that level. And this is to improve that level so that we're in conformance with the general plan. So tonight we have several actions that we need you to take, and we almost need you to do each one and then wait, and because we're going to have to do the election of the property owners. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Vahilia, the City Attorney, on the process that we need to go through tonight.
Right, so there are 4 items on which Council needs to take action this evening. The adoption of the resolution of formation of the Community Facilities District, and then the adoption of the resolution calling the special landowner election. After the Council, if the Council adopts the resolution calling the landowner election, we would then close the public hearing in order for the election to go forward. The property owners have waived all formalities with respect to an election, so the property owner, the single landowner, is present and has a ballot, and will provide that to our elections officer, who is the city clerk. The city clerk will review it, and then we'll go back into a public hearing. The city clerk will declare the results, and the council can adopt the resolution declaring the results of the election. And then the final piece of it would be to introduce the ordinance levying the special tax. And then, as with all ordinances, we would come back for a second reading on that special tax ordinance at the next city council meeting.
Very good. Anything else? Any questions? Question by Council Member Tiscarino.
Yeah, does this pertain to also to the agreements that were made with the last developments, the last couple of years?
You want to repeat your question?
Yeah. Okay. We've had a couple of development agreements in the last couple of years that adhered, my understanding, to these principles here. That still pertains, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we have one developer moving forward at this time. He's actually grading. He has his approved final map. And as a condition of development and in his development agreement, it required him to either annex into the CFD if there was one already formed, or to create one. The development agreement and the conditions of approval said he needed to do that before he could pull a building permit. So he does have his final map. He's grading. Hopefully over the summer he'll be doing his improvements and then requesting his first building permit. So this is the process we're going through, and he is the property owner of our first area that will be in the CFD, and then as each additional development comes through, they'll be required through the DAs that we have in place and the ones that we will be putting on future development to annex into the CFD.
Thank you.
Question by Council Member Thorpe.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of these about these community facilities district, and so I have a question about police protection. So when these residents move in, so there'll be an expectation that they have, I guess, a higher level of police service or a better response time. I don't know what that is. Can you tell me what those residents should anticipate as a result of paying this extra fee?
Well, this fee is meant to defray the costs, the incremental increase in costs for providing police services to new development that doesn't exist at this point. So they would expect to, with their CFD special tax, pay for the incremental increase in police services that would be required for those developments. Right now, those areas are undeveloped, and not generating any calls for service or generating negligible calls for service. When those areas do get developed, calls for service will likely increase, and so this will pay for the incremental cost of having to provide responses to those calls for service, whether it's additional officers, whether it's purchasing additional equipment, whether it's paying for the maintenance of additional equipment and things of that nature.
Is there, as we go forward with this, right now there's been complaints on that part of town that the reaction time of the police officers to get there is slow. Is this going to be able to allow us to be able to put a substation in that? Should our police chief see that as a priority?
That would require, this CFD is only for police services only. That would require an additional council action because it would require authorization to fund the construction of facilities. This CFD is not being authorized to construct facilities. So that would be a separate action that we would come back to council at that time if that's a need that council's identified that you want to explore. Because if the council is going to create a CFD to fund facilities, that's going to require the city to go out and issue bonds to get financing for those facilities, and that is a little bit more labor intensive and a little bit more complicated. But that's something that we could certainly explore if the time comes where the council wants to explore funding construction of infrastructure through a community facilities district.
Well, I have one more question. So, without this, residents would still be paying through their property taxes for police services. And so you're saying that with this, they would be paying a little more to pay for the overall need for police officers in the city, or specifically for this development?
It's for that development. That development's going to create incremental increases and demands on police service that are specifically tied to that development.
So we're with a straight face going to tell new residents the level of police service that you get here is much different than everybody else's because you pay for this, and it's going to look like this. There will be a police officer that's specifically dedicated to this beat as a result of this tax that you're paying.
No, I don't think that's not necessarily the case, that you would have police officers who draw their salaries entirely from this special tax and are assigned to that specific area. That's not.
So this special tax goes to just a big pot of money for police services.
Correct. Well, it goes to it. As I said, it pays for the incremental increase in the costs
for the city overall.
Well, for the city overall, as attributed to the new development.
Okay.
Any other questions before we open this up for a public hearing? Staff. The item 4 is now open for public hearing. Request to speak. These are 5-minute speakers. We have Gil Murillo followed by Fred Klein.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. The CFD here, I think, is a concept of an idea that is well thought but poorly written and poorly executed. As we kind of heard, I think, a political response from our city attorney, these officers are being basically distributed across the city. You cannot designate an officer to be walking just one beat. In addition to that, the time for service is an average that was given by the police chief. So if someone on G Street was having an issue and the time of response was 4 minutes versus someone who lives in the South region where the response time could be 18 minutes, that would give you your average then of 10. So let's keep that in mind. One thing that we have in the South is that we do not have a substation that was originally promised back in the Melrose days, and then from there that did not happen because of revenue that was lost during the the recession. There's also a thing too that to consider is that when we look upon the dollar values, we're looking at with the possibility of 4,000 homes being built in Antioch. You know, that includes what's in the pipeline and what's also being discussed right now through the Planning Commission. That would bring in almost close to $2 million of revenue through CFD. Now, the question comes up is that $2 million going to be able to cover what does $2 million buys? In actuality, if you start looking at the calipers and you start looking at the cost, that just probably buys you 8 officers. When you start looking at that, that's really probably going to cover just a small area. It's not enough. The question that's brought early also is that, you know, city of Antioch compared with size, Councilmember Orgachak, you asked about it earlier regards to, or Wilson, I'm sorry, about what's comparison cities. If you look at the city of Concord, which is very comparative in regards for community size, they have an officers of 150. So we're well short in regards for those numbers. And we'll probably, in the next couple of years, we'll probably exceed the city of Concord. Another thing to also consider as well is that on a CFD that we're looking at, you're just looking at police, you're also looking at fire. In the last council meeting, you know, the fire chief kind of explained the situation, and that we continue to develop, but also we don't look into putting the infrastructure for new, for another station, as well as having dollar revenues to cover the new personnel. So if you're looking at creating a master plan for the city of Antioch, I think you need to put your brakes on a little bit and start looking at a whole picture as a master plan before considering something such as this tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fred Klein.
Thank you for having me here. I'm Fred Klein. I actually graduated from Antioch High in 1975, but haven't lived here for some time. I live in Sonoma, California. Pardon? Classmates. I'm here for my family's property. The Delicia Ranch, owned by Remo Jacuzzi and some of the other family members. He couldn't make it. He owned some property out there that was part of a larger ranch where he was actually born on the property, and he was concerned that this policing district, police protection district that was being formed. Excuse me, I usually don't go to city meetings, but on this thing that was being formed, that it was going to affect their property by increasing their tax base through this new fee. Now, he thinks that it's probably reasonable to have increased services that they're needed when the property is developed, but he's not planning to develop the property that they own, and he was more concerned that it would be that they wouldn't have to pay into this until their property was either sold to a developer or they developed it. And I'm not sure really what's going on. He just asked me to come here and be present, and that would be a question I have for you, and maybe you guys have already discussed that in prior meetings, but is this something that will be, if it's passed, will be immediately on all the properties there, or just when they're developed?
City Attorney, I believe this is a per unit on development, not on.
Correct.
Okay, well, I think that's very fair, and I very much appreciated all of you guys' service here, and to my classmates, great to see you again, I think, but anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
No further one.
This public hearing is closed. This item is before council. Yes, Councilmember Tiscarino.
Yeah, we've had this discussion. It's been brought up 4 times. I think we know pretty much the particulars unless anybody has any more questions. But I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to start off with the number 1.
Go ahead and read the motion.
Okay, so I recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing formation of the City of Antioch Community Facilities District, number 2016-01, Police Protection.
We have a motion and a second on item number 4-1. Council members, cast your votes.
There are 5 affirmative votes.
Do we have a motion on item number 4-2?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like some clarification to the city attorney. So what was the protocol that you had mentioned earlier pertaining number 2 when we start the election?
Number 2, after council considers and votes on the resolution calling the special election, we would close the public hearing on this item, allow the election to go forward, and the ballot to be submitted to the city clerk. After the city clerk reviews the ballot, then we would reopen the public hearing. City clerk can announce the results, and council can adopt the resolution confirming the results of the election. And then there would be an additional item introducing by title only the ordinance levying the special tax.
Okay,
so after this, we would take a break to let the election.
Okay, so it's appropriate to go ahead and make that motion now. I'll go ahead and do so. It's recommended that the City Council adopt the resolution calling special landowner election.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tiscarino. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Ogorchuk. Do we have any discussion? If not, council members, cast your votes.
We have 5 affirmative votes.
Thank you. We will now pause for the landowner election. City Clerk, would you please call roll?
All members are present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Would you like to report out as to the results of the election?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the canvass statement of results of election for City of Antioch Community Facilities District number 2016-01 Police Protection, I hereby certify that on January 24, 2017, I canvassed the returns of the election held on January 24, 2017 in the City of Antioch Community Facilities District number 2016-01 Police Protection for the total number of ballots cast, and that total number of votes cast for and against each ballot measure are as set forth below, and that the totals as shown for and against each ballot measure are full, true, and correct. There were 170 qualified landowner votes. There were a total of 170 votes cast. There were 170 votes yes, 0 votes no. In the ballot measure 1, and that was on ballot measure number 1, shall the City of Antioch be authorized to annually levy a special tax solely on lands within the City of Antioch Community Facilities District 2016-01 Police Protection, parent the CFD, in accordance with the rate and method contained in the resolution of formulation of the CFD adopted by the City Council on December 13, 2016, to pay for the public services and pay for related administrative costs, all as specified in the resolution formulation. I have hereunder set my hand on this 24th day of January 2016.
Looks like it passes in a landslide. Yes.
I'll go ahead and make a motion number 3 to recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution declaring results of the special landowner election and directing recording of notice of special tax lien.
We do 3 and 4 together?
Can we do 3 and 4 together?
Do them separately. One's a resolution, one's
Okay,
an ordinance.
yeah, that's what I.
We have a motion with item number 4-3. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Ogorchuk. Do we have any discussion? If not, council members, please cast your votes.
There are 5 affirmative votes.
Thank you. Item 4-3 passes. Do we have a motion for item 4-4?
I can go and finish up if you like. It is recommended that the city council introduce the ordinance levying special taxes within the City of Antioch Community Facilities District number 2016-01 Police Protection for title only.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Councilmember Ogorchuk seconds. Do we have any discussion? If not, council members, please cast your votes.
We have 5 affirmative votes.
Item 4-4 passes. The public hearing is done. Everything passes. Moving on to council regular
Close again.